So I think we're going through this transition now, classically from the television where we sit back, a lie-back experience. And the first part of social TV we're seeing is people on their iPads or on their PCs, sort of on Facebook talking about the shows, twittering about the shows. I think that's a part of that experience, and you can track that now in the US, the spikes in show-related Facebook content and Twitter. The more interesting thing is when that social interaction changes your viewing habits. That's where it really hits the road. I think in two ways. One, on the disconnected device, the PC or iPad or tablet device, you're talking and saying, hey, let's watch something else and go to that site. Or more interestingly, you get curated on what you're watching on the actual screen. So the screen becomes intelligent. And guys like Boxy are doing that now, where you can see as you're watching a show what your friends are watching and start to have your experience curated and then add content to that. So really social TV is really what it always should have been, which is the fact that you're socialising around a television show with a shared interest. We've come from a world of scheduled content and really vertical channels, and you'll see the show when you want to see the show. And already we've seen people with PVRs, time shifting and changing. And that's really the beginning of what it should be, which is I want to watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it. And so the sense of on-demand is in effect the default for the future. Now, you'll still have the live events, whether it's a sporting event or a rock concert or a particular movie release, but generally speaking, the majority will be on demand. So the ability to create buzz prior and then have it on demand. Now, I think, again, the key issue is curation. There'll be all these sources for content developers to put video out there rather than traditional distribution chains. And so the key will be how do the distributors, the content creators, the channels, the whoever, curate this, and that'll come back to the social interaction, finding a way for there to be a buzz created about a particular show that will drive the content. If you look at the traditional free-to-air television environment distribution, or Foxtel, in fact, you have this sort of tightly controlled pipe, controlled by the free-to-air networks and by the pay TV networks, where in essence the major content developers do deals to supply their content through it, and then you as a viewer get whatever they want to serve up to you. It's not a particularly good viewing experience because you get only what they want to give you at the time they want to give it to you, unless you PVR it. And it's particularly bad from advertisers because you're not really getting a target audience. You're getting what they say is a particular audience. And if we just sort of segue to audience measurement, it's amazing to me that in a world now where we know that everyone's splitting off into niche groups or niche content areas, niche interest areas, look at the number of Facebook groups, look at the number of niche publishing houses. And yet in the TV world, we consider 6.6 million Australian homes as one homogenous mass, and we then measure them with a few thousand set-top boxes. So it's counterintuitive to what's actually going on. So the poor advertiser has to try and buy a tight demographic of a potential purchaser through this very cumbersome device. If we roll forward, where content is available through many distribution channels, direct from the film studio servers, from YouTube developers, what have you, and you have measurement, which of course is the key of the internet, you actually know who's watching. You know that this is a young male interested in cars. You know this is a young woman interested in fashion. And so from an advertiser's perspective, your ability to spread your money more effectively over multiple areas and have them critically measured in real measurement terms, not proxies, is tremendous. So you'd have to say that the ROI for the advertising dollar just goes through the roof in this environment. And you create this tremendous connection then. Because you get that occasionally with a television show and an audience, but pretty much that's not the case. If advertisers get behind these niche video offerings, I should say, then you get this connection that the advertiser can then control as well and communicate with the audience. So it's in many ways, a shift from traditional passive television to a connected social TV environment is exactly what advertisers should always have wanted and had. In fact, if you go back to the design of television, and Nicholas Negroponte wrote about this in his book Being Digital, which is probably before anyone in this room was born. He's from MIT. He talks about when they were designing televisions initially, and they made a critical decision. Do we put the intelligence back at the hub, or the server if we would call it, or do we put the intelligence at the screen? And they decided, we'll put it at the hub. So it was consciously decided that this would be a one-way traffic broadcast mechanism. And of course now we've inverted that to something more relevant for consumers and advertisers. In the connected TV environment, if we compare it to the prior, we now have a consumer who's engaged in content they really want to watch. We have the content provider and the advertiser who understands the sort of demographics of what that consumer is interested in, so they know a lot about the consumer. So you have the two key attributes you need. You know who's watching the show and what they want. So your ability now to construct an offer, and it can be actually quite a targeted offer to that individual to sell them something. So it's a perfect sale environment. It moves video into being not just a call to arms, but actually a selling environment. If we go forward a few years to what a house will look like and we think about video interaction, we mightn't think about a living room so much or a cinema room necessarily. It'll be more about what sort of content do I want to watch and where. So one of the obvious answers is I'll just wander around the house, pick up a tablet and watch some short videos. There might be some TED videos that I'm really interested in or some small documentaries. But when I want the big screen experience, I might then go to a big screen. Now, maybe a projection from my tablet device, a download from my Apple TV or similar device or from the cloud. And that might be curated, so you can see the environment where I come in, the TV knows it's me through many of the boxes coming out now that can sense the individual, who it is, whether it's a Microsoft device or others. It knows my favourites, it knows what I might have recorded or put an interest in, and it puts those up for me to have a look at. I might question it through, I would clearly through voice automation say, well, what are my friends watching now? It would show me that. Okay, I like that, I'm getting tired now, can you put that in the bedroom? I'll go and watch it in the bedroom. So I think, in a sense, the content, as it should, travels with you throughout the house and goes onto whatever screen you want, whether it's the more sort of intimate screen or the bigger screen to give you the large impact for a sports event or for a rock concert or for a large-scale movie. And the other overlay is a sense of the curation and finding of the content, and that's done through bots, if you will, but also through what my social environment and what my friends are doing. If you look at where gaming's gone, it's sort of bifurcated in a bit. Since we have these incredibly complex, art of warfare kind of games that are incredibly expensive to build, 3D interactive now, interactive across high-speed internet with people around the world. High skill required to play them, many require large screens, and at the other end you have people playing, effectively Scrabble word games, interactive Scrabble word games on their iPhone or on their tablet device. And so I think we broaden the concept of gaming to say that more than the pimply-faced 15-year-old plays games. And going forward, you can imagine everyone in a household, from a young toddler through to a grandma, playing some sort of game. I think the interesting thread will be the game, and then it becomes whatever device suits the game best, whether it's a mobile phone device, a tablet, a large screen, and the degree of interactivity required. It may just be, in the word example, sending words back and forward over a low-speed link, or maybe this sort of incredibly complex 3D warfare game where I'm rendering 3D visions and using high speed. So, and you can see, as we see now, that interaction of those overlaying into video properties. So people being able to insert themselves into a storyline or into a war storyline or into a sports storyline. So those are advanced gaming models will come out as well. And you can imagine going forward a high proportion of the video time we spend will be in a gaming sort of model. If I look today, I watch my two oldest daughters, when they watch television for the brief time they do, they're always playing a game at the same time. It'll be a zinger game or a word game, and so even then they're used to the multitasking model, and they're used to being engaged on two levels. One, the show, and the other on the interactivity with someone else playing a game.